question, which is
Talk about between American and Europe bike, because we missed that.
okay. I'll ask that in a second. But you did take the Tamazzo that I brought in, the Tamazzo bike with the broken rear derailleur. If you can just explain to the viewers what you did to that bike.
Well, I didn't actually do anything other than touch it up. I have an experienced frame builder who's semi-retired, and he takes on projects only if he feels like he wants to do it. And so he agreed to do that, and he is a wizard with metal. He builds his own frames. He builds custom frames, but only if people find out who he is and ask. He doesn't advertise, but he's as good as anybody on the planet. And so he does my repair work for me. Occasionally we don't take in stuff like that, and touch-up work I don't do anymore. Occasionally I will, because I don't know, maybe you have a good story, maybe you have something that says, okay, I'll do it. But for the most part, I don't do any of that work. There's just too much here.
Well, grateful that you did accept that.
Yeah.
Very grateful.
So, but my team is what helps get this done. If I didn't have my guys here to help, then I'd be dead in the water. These guys help keep things moving, and I just kind of am the ringleader, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, so to speak. And I still do some work, but I don't do everything.
Yeah.
And that's what you need in this business, is a good team around you.
Okay.
And luckily I have that. Are starting to follow suit, make their frames nicer paint jobs. They brought the quality level up. So what the Americans did was force the other guys to up their game.
Right.
And that's what they did.
What about carbon fiber now, and pretty much the whole industry moving towards that that particular material? Is that a risk for old steel techniques and manufacturing?
No, because steel bikes are no longer the go-to for the average recreational rider. Specialized, Trek, Giant, all the big ones, it's all carbon fiber now. So you can get a really nice carbon fiber frame for $500. You can get a great bike for $1,000 or $2,000, and that's where the market is headed for quite a few years now. So these guys are all niche frame builders. Nobody's trying to set the world on fire. Nobody's trying to put Trek out of business. They're just soliciting people that want a custom-made frame tailored for themselves, and something that looks cool, and they send it to the painter, who gives the customer what they want. You know, so maybe that customer doesn't want black and red like the Specialized comes in, but with these, the builder says to the client, what color do you want? You can have anything you want. And so, but it's all small, limited quality stuff. So the only frames that are sold in the mass market that are steel are the cheap stuff. The high-end steel is all custom, and it's all small batch people, guys that are just working by themselves, making 20, 30, 50 frames a year. Most of the guys that are doing that have a wife that makes good money, so they can, they're not making a living. It's usually the wife that is an attorney or a doctor who says, yes, you can let your artistic juices run wild while I pay the bills. And that's very, it's common. But there are a few guys out there that are actually making a living doing this. But very few frame builders are going to put kids through college by building these bikes. It's, like you say, a labor of love, but it's kind of hand to mouth. It's a lot of labor. And in 2020, you don't make a lot of money with your hands. You get by, and you can make a living, but you're not going to get rich. You're not going to have a Lamborghini. But most people decide it's a lifestyle choice, and that's okay. So for me, I fell into this by accident and just kept doing it because maybe lack of ambition. I just didn't feel like doing anything else.
Top of your game, my goodness, lack of ambition.
Truly. And, I have a little bit of obsessiveness for detail, and so this plays into my strength for that. And so I just work on them and make them as nice as I can get them. And so people started to recognize that years ago and started sending me the bikes.
Yeah.
And so now it's evolved into something it's not quite out of control, but I've actually tapered down accepting work. I'm only accepting kind of what I can do, and I've been referring work to other painters because some of those guys maybe don't have as much work as I do, and I can't paint everybody's bike. So they're happy, they're grateful, and when I go to bike conventions, I never have to buy my own drinks anymore. So that's a cool part of it. But I have a little bit of an obsessive streak, so if I can satisfy that by doing the bikes to as perfect as I can get it, then I can let the rest of my life be chaos, which it is.
And the customers appreciate it.
They
the
do.
Customers really appreciate you.
It comes with a caveat, though. If you send me your bike, it's going to take a little while. So I always insist that my clients have another bike to ride because you're not going to see yours for a while. But they almost always agree that it's worth it in the end.
So the question was, how did the American manufacturing for custom bikes or steel bikes evolve when it was actually the Europeans who had all of that knowledge and know-how and the experience over many decades?
Most of the custom builders rode European bikes when they were starting out. That was the holy grail bike. The holy grail for me was a Colnago Super back in the 70s. And so these guys, they raced on those bikes and they said, well, I'd like to make one for myself. So gradually the American frame building scene started up because they were influenced by the builders from Italy, Britain, France, and I think Americans tend to want to just do a better job, do as best they can. Whereas the mindset in Europe was, it's a tool, let's get it done, we need to get this out, and it doesn't matter if the lug is crooked or there's a little piece of brass hanging out, it's still going to ride great, and in 2 years you'll be buying a new bike. Well, the Americans, they wanted to build a bike for life, and so they paid attention to all the details. These guys are mostly solo flyers. They don't always work well with others. They like to work by themselves, and so they obsess over the details. And so that's how that started. And so the Americans basically raised the game for everybody. And it took a couple decades for the Europeans to recognize that and realize that they had to raise their game too if they wanted to keep America as clients. And so it raised it for everybody. The American builders are the best in the world as far as quality level and attention to detail. But the bikes, they all ride good. The Italians have the ride down. So, the ride is the ride, and then there's the look. So, take your pick, but you can have both with good quality, custom American frames.
Great.
So, and Americans aren't the only ones. There's great frame builders in all of the countries. They're just a small niche, and it's up to the client who wants something special, who wants something different, who wants to stand out a little bit, to seek those people out, to make them a custom frame that stands above the rest.
Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I'll speak for myself as a lover of old vintage bikes, steel bikes. I have a flame inside me, and I must say you and your staff and all the people in the industry are the air that allows us to fan that flame. So we thank you, and very,
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 very
appreciate
welcome.
it.
We love clients like you guys that appreciate this work, because we're here in a 90-degree shop sweating over this, and we don't feel like we're sacrificing. We just feel like we're doing what we love.
Yeah.
And to have people appreciate it makes us feel that much better, because there's people that don't enjoy what they're doing, that make a living not enjoying it. Like, I don't think. And when somebody leaves, they're not happy. when someone picks up their bike here, they have a smile on their face and they can't wait to get home and ride their bike, and that gives us a lot of joy. So that's one of the big things that we like about it, is that we do bring joy to people's lives, and they do have a smile on their face when they leave.
There's one here right now.
There you go.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. Better wash that hand.
Yeah.